You're here today. And if you're ready for us to get into the most anti-hip-hop family and everything move that Drake has made in his entire career, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And now, really, as Karen has gone too far this time, and at this point, it's either you stand with him or you stand with hip-hop. Make sure to leave that like so all of hip-hop culture comes out on top and Rivalry loses worse than ever with all of the Stranger Things that hang out around him. And now with that said, currently with lame old Rivalry, it's hard to even call him that right now, because with where Drake is now taking the entire case with his label over Not Like Us, well, somehow, and I never thought we could actually say this, the Karen levels within this are off the charts, even for what he has done so far, as genuinely we have never seen anything from Drake like what we have seen exactly here, which of course that is saying so much because, and I'm really trying to keep it together, but I'm just not going to be able to, because from bringing Kendrick Lamar's kids and family into things, and then to try and explore Whitney and Kendrick's relationship history as a whole, and then Dave Free and Kendrick's DNA, and then also people like Pusha T here and Screw Trueface Gene in addition to all of them and so much else. Well, listen, this is the most insane thing that I have ever read through. And now, while all the grown men who hide behind profile pictures of women in communities are celebrating and acting like Drake has won something here, and yes, that's a diss for all of the OVO people who we know you're not women and you actually look like this, and you're always on my timeline just bothering me. Well, I got bad news for all you losers, because not just is Drake never going to get away with all of these demands and delusions here, but if there was any remaining status that he had left in hip-hop and with his rapper card that is declined, and he is fully out of here, as now with Lamo, he is 100% and undisputedly last name Karen, first name Lamest, and nothing else. And at least at the bare minimum of all of this, well, I guess at the very least, now all of the losers who tried to support Drake with this have been forced to drop the facade of this idea that Drake is doing this for the industry, and it's because he's trying to save it. And now at least you're admitting the play that is really going on here, which is just this petty charge on his end to try and bother Kendrick Lamar and everybody else who has hurt his feelings in any way he possibly can.
Because seriously now, with all of the stuff that Drake is requesting and trying to put into this discovery, for what you're claiming you're in this for, there is no reason to want to even know these things and put them in here other than to create the biggest mess you possibly could. Which, to be honest, while there are so many issues with all of this, I don't even think a single mind could comprehend everything in this rush of a moment. What we are seeing is that for the team of people that have tried to validate these delusions for Drake and drag on this case over and over again, well, they are just as much of mega Karens as he is. Because again, there is no merit or actual desire to seek the truth and justice in this at all, which I thought is what we were supposed to use these systems for in the first place. And instead now, Drake is just trying to make Kendrick Lamar's life the most annoying it could be in any way he has left. Because really now, with dragging Kendrick Lamar's kids and his family into actual paperwork, I don't know how else to say this. This is petty, messy, and disgusting in a way that we have really never seen from almost any artist ever. And you could really just double and triple down on this the more you read through this thing, because when you see everything that Drake is trying to say and push, well, what becomes more apparent is that all of this is just a petty cry from everybody's least favorite Karen ever. And again, this isn't even a matter of opinion or anything, because while this case is supposed to be about Not Like Us and Kendrick Lamar, we literally do see Drake melt down and have a temper tantrum in the middle of these documents. All in the section when we see Drake straight up admit that he was using the label to censor and silence Pusha T. And not just the story of Adidon at that, but literally every single thing that Pusha T has put out. Which now, just to see Drake whine and pretty much say it to the labels that since they allowed him to censor Pusha T, but then not Kendrick Lamar, that something's up.
Well, I don't even know how to comment on this because it is genuinely that terrible and disgusting to even fathom. But really, to the music industry, shame on them for creating such a spoiled and entitled piece of garbage. Because seriously, who thinks in their right mind that they already have the audacity to censor another one of their peers in an art form that they supposedly love and care about so much? And then at that, how do you think you are going to be possibly allowed to censor a rapper who has pretty much been bigger than you for their entire career, when you measure everything that actually matters? And so with the biggest thing that Drake has just soiled his reputation forever with, through all the noise and whatever points that he is trying to drag and whine about, Just keep this in mind, because it showcases more than anything else that all this entire suit really is the delusional anger of a Karen who has done nothing but Karen out for the last decade at this point. And well, now, because there's no managers left to speak to, is trying to take down everything alongside them because they have nowhere left to run. And hey, everybody's already watching this meltdown, so why not just ruin every single thing you have ever stood for? Because truly, when you look into this, Lubre is not just letting us all know how ugly and pathetic of a person he has been, not just to himself, but to his fellow peers and every single person he has ever encountered, clearly. But really, and for Drake stans, this may be the hardest thing to ever fathom. But what Drake really is showing, and what is the most telling thing about all of this, is that Drake is genuinely obsessed with Kendrick Lamar. And not just in a way where they're rivals or something like that, but I'm talking like Eminem level stan for that matter. Because really, to seriously sit up here and request documents on pretty much anything related to Kendrick Lamar's and his history, and then actually want to get into the DNA of his kids and his relationship with Dave Free, and then of course also the whole dynamic with Whitney and what he said about them on Family Matters, and then also Dave Free and Whitney for that matter, because you're trying to get DNA involved. But what we are seeing is that Drake's obsession with Kendrick Lamar has overtaken him so much that he cares more about Kendrick's kids and who is their dad than he has ever done about his own.
But now, seriously, the more you sit and process what Drake is doing and what he is trying to gain from it, well, now what the most insane thing may be about what Drake is requesting with Dave Free and Kendrick's kids, and then anything around the stuff with Whitney, which once again, this ties back into this idea of how much of a mess this thing really is to process, and how much of a major contradiction that this even is for Drake. Because really now is we have reached a point where the stuff that Drake wants to see all relates to his diss track in Family Matters, of course, and then again the stuff that he said there, which was supposed to be these big gotcha moments, is now what Drake is searching for to try and find anything related to, well, this is where things really get weird. And this honestly may be the most baffling part about this entire thing, because what we are seeing from Drake is that he is now using his own lies and disses to try and request info on what is being looked at in the center of the courts. And in this case, when you just see now that the words of a diss track are being flipped to now try and dig into the facts that there is nothing about, because of course Drake said these things about Kendrick and there's never been any record about it. Well, now, first off, for Drake, while this is also showing while he never had any sort of proof or evidence about anything he was saying about Kendrick Lamar there, in the bigger sense, when I say that the Drake lawsuit is ruining hip-hop and artistic expression as a whole, this is exactly what I mean. Because to see Drake's words just turn into legal requests that are trying to invade Kendrick Lamar's personal life on something that there is no proof on, if you don't think every rapper is watching this and is going to affect the way that they even think about engaging in beefs going forward, well, you are mistaken. And really now, when we see that Drake is requesting pretty much every single detail of both Kendrick Lamar's professional and personal lives, which even in terms of his rap image, doesn't just stop at getting his record contract, but now Drake wants to know the exact value of Kendrick's entire musical catalog, well, overall, you see that this thing is all over the place, and we have just lost the plot so much, because generally from DNA test to knowing the value of what the Good Kid, Mad City album is, none of this has anything to do with Not Like Us and everything going on around there.